terminal in Fargo, North Dakota. Wasn't a window anywhere in the joint, because that's mostly for the winters up there, severe winters. Be a piece of cake to model. A couple pieces of wood, a big dowel, put them alongside each other and mold them in with a little Elmer's glue all, and bingo zingo, you've got a miniature of the Fargo terminal. Tell you, the first time I saw this terminal, I was really a little disappointed. I expected something really elaborate and wild and showcasing the system in Phoenix, because that's where their home base was. But no, this was the Phoenix terminal. I mean, not that it was a dog. It wasn't a dog. But I don't know what I was expecting to see. But it was a pretty little plain Jane, and of course it was situated in a very congested area downtown, so naturally it was logical to make a multi-level parking garage out of it as well, because you make a small fortune parking cars in the middle of a large city, as anybody knows. But that's it. That was Phoenix. Whether it still is, I don't know. I don't think so. 6459. Loading in Montreal. Getting ready for her run down to Miami. In the wintertime, they ran through cars all the way to Miami. And I want to tell you, when that little puppy pulled out of there, she was wall-to-wall people. All young folks who could endure a non-stop, I guess. That little frosted window back there, that means somebody's already in the lab. Oh, here's a rarity. This is one of my shots back in the days when I was doing some work for MCI. These are the Saudi Arabian Greyhounds. Now these particular cars here, these are the transit cars being made, the rear door transit cars. They had just completed the inner city car run first. And these guys here are about 60-70% complete now. They were made in Winnipeg, like all MCIs, and then trucked down across the border to Pembina, North Dakota. That insignia on the back is a Ramco. They couldn't put Greyhound dogs on them because there was something to do with the Arabs' religions. They had one on the breastplate underneath the windshield, but they tricked them by saying that can't come off, that's permanent. Oh, darn. The latitude of the film, the video won't pick this up very well, I'm sorry to say. In there, that's 0952 loading in the Omaha station. That's a freighter. Yeah, video still has a long way to go to be able to get the latitude that film has. Here's 7065 leaving the Greyhound station in Chicago, getting ready to go on Wacker Boulevard. It was obvious here that she was just getting ready to be sold. When they go on the block, Greyhound would wipe them all out. She still had her Pepsi roof, but that would be gone too before she was sold. Probably the next one or two times she came in from a run, she would be whited out entirely. Remember, always shoot at least once in a while, shoot the back of a bus. Here's TNMNO 102A, L885. Again, part of the big shoot I made down that way a long time ago. Again, wide body TNMNO L885. I did quite a spread on her. Can't remember what that building back there in Lubbock is. There was some famous Texan's house at one time or another. It's a historic site. An MC-12 in front of the Greyhound terminal in Washington, D.C. That's pretty majorly featured in the the bus wars in one of the bus and round videos between Peter Pan and Greyhound. That's when they were having their fair war. 1821 is her number. She's basically nothing but an MC9 with a cap on it and some different marker lights and headlights. Actually, the dashboard, believe it or not, is an MC8 dashboard that's in these things. MCI must have died and went to heaven when they could have cleaned out the old bins to make these things up. And they've got the newer laser stripe type paint job on it. I still wish they'd get rid of the Pepsi paint scheme altogether and create something new. Here's the inside of the Washington, D.C. Greyhound terminal. But actually, this is the Trailways terminal that was built by the Kerrigan regime. Down in back of Union Station, directly across the street from Peter Pan. Here we go. Here's a piece of history. The mighty MC6. Running down 42nd Street in Midtown Manhattan, too. Bus that was far ahead of its time. So unique it even had its own wheels, much to the dismay of people who bought them secondhand from Greyhound. Greyhound very quietly did not inform them that there would be no tires or wheels because they were made specially just for that coach available in the future. Hence, you don't see a whole heck of a lot of them running around anymore. She was 102-inch wide, tri-level they called it. It really didn't have much of a tri-level to it. Charabanca is the style of seating that was in it. You know, it goes up towards the back. Hartford, Connecticut. Many years ago. Down to $59 here. Kerrigan created this price war, $59 anywhere we go. So Greyhound matched it. I know. I think he had 69, so Greyhound went to 59, something like that. This is in the dead of winter, so consequently the fare structure was very low. The old KG Lines garage. Tulsa, Oklahoma. The only buses, Eagle buses, that carried Greyhounds up until the time that Greyhound bought Eagle. They had Greyhound Dogs and the current Trailway logo on the side because they were 50% owned by Trailways and 50% owned by Greyhound. Stem back away from the Santa Fe Trails days. Santa Fe Trails sold half the operation off. It was a pool. They were right in the middle of a very important line, and consequently Greyhound and Trailways came to agreement and bought them. Much like Panhandle Trailways is today, 50% owned by Greyhound, 50% owned by Trailway. Trailways. 6271 when she was brand spanking new. Initially, when the 8s came out, they had silvered wheels, not white. They didn't last too terribly long as silver wheels, but they did have them. This was in Tulsa, Oklahoma, yeah. 1748, 102A, driving down Charleston, South Carolina's famous Battery. Charleston's a peninsula city, and this street loops around. Right, so this was a pretty famous little old picture. Done in Salem, Massachusetts, not far from Spike Michaud's house, and most of the IBCers know our buddy Spike. This is when the merger was created, back in '87, I think it was. And Mr. Curry asked if I might not be able to produce a whole series of pictures on Greyhound and Trailways being one now. Of course, they only bought Trailways Incorporated out of Dallas. They didn't buy all the Trailway companies. Best they could muster at the time for the Trailways picture was the Eagle 10, of course. MC8 4542 in Scranton. As you can see, they were still silver topped here. A lot of IBCers, the younger IBCers, this is their favorite car. Although above and beyond, the MC7 is probably the more dominant when it comes to being you know, liked. Okay, here's 3433. Now this is, if you'll notice, this is when the last paint scheme that the sevens ever picked up. This is when they blued them all up in the top, took the silver roof away. Again, Knoxville World's Fair logo on the door. Harrisburg, Pennsylvania, the Capitol Trailways yard. Here's a picture that got a lot of distance, I want to tell you. A lot of publications have used this through the years. This is in Rockland, Maine, at State News Company over there. That's the little commission agency in Rockland. And they're the only way in and out of town, with the exception of a little commuter airline that I imagine somebody must have. It used to be Bar Harbor Air, and Bar Harbor Air is gone, of course, when Easton failed. And I think there's still one car a day down through here. Vermont Transit's running it. Vermont Transit runs nearly all of the service north of Boston for Greyhound now. 2136 at the Arlington, Texas commission agent. No, that's not a commission agency. That's a company-owned store, I believe. 102. Don't know if she's still on the system anymore. I don't have a current Greyhound roster, unfortunately. That may be corrected very shortly. Des Moines, Iowa, also serving Jefferson Transportation. Nice little station. I know the station manager here believed in cleanliness. You could eat off the floors in this one. Because you go into something like Atlanta and the floors will eat you. 3618, way back in 1977, Jackson, Michigan. Running on over to Kalamazoo. Old Big Bear MC7, of course. Super 73901, sitting in Portland, Maine. Still sporting her silver roof and her Super 7 Scenic Cruiser decals. Oh, yes, very good. I did find it. Now, it's awfully hard to ascertain on the video, of course, because the bus is needle sharp and everything around it is moving at a gazillion miles an hour. Now, it's very imperative that you keep the bus in the dead center. You start following it, like to the right here, before she gets into the picture you want to take. Then you keep the camera dead centered on that bus and move with the bus so that the bus becomes stationary, and you trip the shutter at a 30th of a second, and you'll have this bus hurtling like it's in warp 7 down the highway. You can only do it unless you're in a car that's leading it, then you can do it there, but you've got to do it almost dead on the side. It doesn't work very well any other way. And you've only got this millisecond to be able to pull off the effect you want. Like this particular picture here probably took about 8 pictures to finally end up doing. But the effect is really neat. The famous Greyhound 743 restoration with Mr. T, Jerry Torriello, Mr. Greyhound of the Bronx. The bus is reasonably accurately painted. The teardrop's wrong. It's too too much of a rake to it. And the bars coming back from the headlight should be gold leaf. But basically, I love her. I'd give my right foot to be able to own that car. That's my all-time favorite. Of course, that's the one that the Corgi people finally decided they were going to make models of. Jerry was a happy camper there. This was at the New Jersey bus rodeo when she was on display there at Giants Field. 494 at Thunder Bay, Ontario. This is a Scenic Cruiser 8. This is you can tell by the big maple leaf there. She's a Canadian Greyhound car, you know, pretty much of a dead giveaway with a 3-digit number as well. They don't have any 4-digit numbers up in Canada on the Greyhound system. Still a very professional bus company. Entirely disowned itself from Greyhound in the United States. It was so ashamed of Greyhound in the United States. They run out of Trailways terminals now when they do cross the border. Canadian Greyhound fleet number 585, MC9, in Sudbury, Ontario. And if you look up at the top of the hill behind the terminal, there is a little Greyhound garage in Sudbury. There's a lot of Grey Coach MC7s up there, and of course Greyhound Canada has recently bought Grey Coach. Part of that session I did for the merger of Trailways Inc. and Greyhound. In the final advertisements it said coming or going. You win both ways now, because Trailways and Greyhound are one. Curry might have not been a superstar, but at least he didn't do a job on the rest of the boys in the industry, because he still was a bus man. Okay, 8134. Here's some real history here. This is in the Greyhound garage in New York City. And this is one of the very first delivered MC9s back in 1979. Boy, the industry thought that thing was, woo boy, cat's meow. They jumped on board that. And the MC9, of course, finally ended up beating the 5,065 sales record of the 4104. This Greyhound garage, of course, that's recently been sold off now too. New York City Transit Authority. 4910 leaving the Lincoln Tunnel on the Route 3 expressway. Boy, at the morning or the evening during the rush hours, the buses you can sit here and shoot are absolutely awesome. Buses, a gazillion bus a second, just for about an hour and a half, 2 hours, a bus a second, and go through 500 rolls of film. 6589 MC9 in Montreal, Canada, up there on a group charter. Nice and spiffy and all cleaned up. Just coming down from the garage to pick our group up at the Queen Elizabeth Hotel. She's an American car, naturally, with the 4 digits. 6619 MC9 loading in Burlington, Vermont. The Burlington station is still a street load station. Easy place to take bus pictures. Nice place to take bus pictures. No sheds of any kind. Kind of rough on the people loading in the rain and the snow, but other than that, it's 8577 MC9 with an MC8 behind her. Where was that? Oh, that was a rest area in Nevada, outside Reno. They were running over the hill to San Francisco. I'm sorry. in the High Sierras. Both cars were empty. I think they were being deadheaded back. Drivers are in making a little pit stop. Here's 6353 coming in from Wacker Drive there in Chicago. Now if you look at the top of her roof line, you'll see the in and the out tunnels for the old terminal right over there on the left of the screen. So he's going to pull into that right hand one and go in that. Any cars coming out would be coming out the other side of that wall. Number 596, brand spanking new MC9, Canadian Greyhound, on her way to Winnipeg. Caught her at Kenora, Ontario. She had just come out of the pretty little Kenora station. It's a really neat little station. 6581 at Clementes, State Line, Delaware. Until recently was the oldest post house in existence. I understand its history now, which is a shame. This is a nice picture. This is, as I was saying, this is the Burlington, Vermont station where they still load on the curbside, and they back off into the traffic. It's scary as all get out. This is car number 4800. She was coming down from Montreal, continuing down to New York City.